Hello, welcome to Memo's Tech Tips. My name is Camilo, and today I'll be bringing you a tutorial on how to build and pick your own parts for your personal computer. Whether it be multimedia or gaming, it really depends on you. First, you want to see what you're going to do. If you're going to do some heavy-duty gaming, then you're going to want a high-end graphics card, a lot of RAM, and a good processor. If you're going to do heavy multimedia, as in Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, HD video, 3D video, again, you're going to want a heavy-duty video card, but you're also going to want a lot of storage because those HD videos do take up a lot of storage. So I'm going to break these videos down probably in 3 parts because it's going to be probably a 50-minute segment around there. So where should we start? Let's start, I think, first you should start. The way I start when I have built computers for my clients is with a budget. As you can see here, I have a piece of paper and I basically write down their budget. And then we start breaking down the components. So I have the motherboard, the hard drives, the video card, and you could basically start picking out more or less what you want, and then you write down the price to see whether you're in your budget. But what's in a computer? If you built a computer before, then this video probably won't. It's not going to help you. But if you're kind of wondering, well, I kind of like my friend's computer. He built it himself. I could do that too. Well, you can. It's not that difficult. You just got to know little certain things. And the internet helps you out a lot. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, including this one. And there's a lot of forums that you can just type in a question and people will help you. So where I begin is the budget, and then the first part I usually start picking is the motherboard. The motherboard is basically where everything is going to plug in. So also you want to what's called future proofing, which is you want your computer to last a long time without you having to worry about having to upgrade something in a year. What's the point of building your own personal computer if you have to upgrade a year later? Then you really didn't do a good job, or you didn't analyze exactly what you were going to use it for. So if right now you're thinking, well, my computer's fine, it gives me some problems here and there, or if you're a gamer and you say to yourself, well, I installed this game and it always says I need more RAM or I need more processing power, then you're probably gonna want to think to later on. Games are always developing more and more, and they need more and more computing power to process all that information. So you're gonna want to future-proof your system. If you're asking yourself, well, why build my own computer when I can just go to Dell or HP or Gateway? Yes, those are options, and you can definitely do that if you don't want the hassle of getting all this and putting it in the case and in programming and installing the programs in Windows. And a benefit of that also, of getting it from Dell or HP, is the support and warranty. If you're not too tech savvy, you probably shouldn't do this unless you really know like how to search for information on the web. So let's just start off with what components I have here. First, we have a case, and cases can range anywhere from nothing on it, no clear side, just plain black or plain silver, just a aluminum body. This is I like to call this probably a mid-range case. Has a clear side, a lot of ventilation, some color features in the front, which I'll show you in a little while, and of course inputs in the front for USB and audio. So we have the case. Then we have the motherboard. The motherboard, you need to, that's basically the body. That's where you need to plug everything, like the limbs of your body. So you need to plug in your hard drive, your dedicated video card, your RAM, and your processor. Then you have the processor, which processes all the information. As soon as you click something on the computer, it's the processor's job to determine what algorithms to use. Basically, this is binary code, 0 and 1, which everybody pretty much knows that's the computing language. Then you have other languages above that. So you're going to want to pick a processor that's up in your price range, because they do vary in price. And there's also two manufacturers of processors. You got Intel and you also have AMD. I do not have an AMD to show you, but search it online. Their prices are usually cheaper than Intel, and they are good quality, but I usually go with Intel. Then you have RAM, random access memory. When you open up a program like Firefox or Chrome, Windows Media Player, iTunes, the program needs somewhere to store information temporarily while you run that program. That's where it's going to store it. It's going to store it in the RAM. And if you're a heavy multitasker, you do a lot of stuff, you're burning a CD here, you're searching the web there, you're doing some photoshopping here, you're going to want a lot of memory, because these programs, they do require a lot. Next is your storage. And there are two different types of storages. There's the mechanical, plain old mechanical drives, which are a high capacity, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes. The disadvantage of the mechanical drives, they are a little slow. A new technology that's out, that's been out for about 2 years, are called SSD. This is a flash-based storage, just like a, well, not just like it, but like a memory card on a camera. So basically, they have a lot of memory in there, but they don't come in high capacities. The highest are probably like 1 terabyte, and if they do come over that, they're probably well over $1,000. The price to gigabyte ratio varies a lot. They are coming down on price very fast. So if this is definitely a good solution if you do want something to boot fast, if you want to load Windows fast, if you want your programs to, as soon as you click that mouse button, you don't blink because the program will be open. That's how fast these SSDs can go. And the mechanical drives, I basically use them now just for storage. Your multimedia files, MP3s, your videos, your pictures, and maybe a couple of programs that you don't really need on your SSD, because your SSD doesn't have a lot of capacity. This one is only a 128 gigabyte, which is more or less what the recommended is. You can get away with an 80 gigabyte, but remember that Windows does take about 30 gigabytes to install. So we have that, and then we have, I'm going to have to jump over here, an optical drive. You basically need this to install programs, mainly your operating system, unless you are a tech savvy and you can do it through a USB drive, which I've seen done, and I've done it myself. But basically, an optical drive. This is a regular DVD burner. I don't think they even sell CD burners anymore, because there's no, the manufacturers won't make really any money. So they just make DVD burners or Blu-ray readers or Blu-ray burners. So you can get any one of those. The Blu-ray burners are not that much in price anymore. They used to be, but any one would be fine. That really doesn't matter. Depends also on a couple of features. If you want to light scribe, like burn on the disc the title, you can burn it on the top of the disc. They do come in that feature, and a couple of other ones, but it's not really that essential. Like it doesn't affect the performance of your computer. And the last component which I have here is your power supply. This is in charge of distributing power throughout your system. It basically turns your AC power from your outlet to DC power, which is a much safer power for these components. And if there's one part that you do have to look out for, it's the power supply. You do want to make sure you're getting high quality power supply. High quality does not mean high in price. You can just search the internet, and that doesn't mean you have to get, there's also wattages. Doesn't mean you have to get 1,200 watt power supply like I have. You can get a 750, a 600. If you have a manufacturer computer like Dell or HP, they usually just throw in a 300 to 400 watt power supply, depending on the graphics card you have in there, because the graphics card is what pulls a lot of power if you have a high-end graphics card. So we'll get more into this when I unbox it in the next segment. So basically those are, and this is just a aftermarket cooler for the CPU. We'll get into that. It's not essential, but it's a option if you don't want to use the fan that the CPU comes with. This is a liquid cooled sealed solution. We'll get into that in the next segment. So let's start off with the motherboard, because like I said before, the motherboard is probably one of the most important pieces. And let's also pick the RAM and your CPU. So I'm going to move these to the side. That's some other stuff here. So when you're choosing a motherboard, they do vary in price from anywhere from, I think, a little bit less than 100. Less than 100 to well over around $400 or $500. So again, do your research. Make sure you're getting a motherboard that's suitable for you. This is the Asus Maximus 5 Gene. This is a micro ATX board, which means it's small compared to the ATX and extended ATX boards. So here we have the board. Also, before taking this out, I should have, which I already did. Before taking out any electronic component, you want to take off the static from yourself. So with the case, actually the case is metal. You can touch the case and make sure you don't have any static electricity, because you will ruin your component. So here we have the motherboard, and like I said, this is where everything plugs in. So we have where your CPU goes is socket 1155. Also, when you pick a CPU, make sure you're picking the compatible CPU with it. So pick what CPU you're gonna get, and then pick the board, and then pick depending on the level of board you want. But you can do either or. If you like the board that you see, and you let's say you're consulting with a friend, like, oh, that's a good board, then you can pick the CPU. So we have the socket. We have the RAM sockets. This is where the RAM DIMM goes. We also have the power. This is what powers the motherboard. We have your SATA ports, the Z77 chipset, and usually motherboards will have at least one PCI Express 2.0 or 3.0. This is a 3.0, also compatible with 2.0. Oh, wow, that was a good sneeze. Good thing I did it away from that. Okay. That was a good one. So where was I? Oh, PCI. So the PCI is where your graphics card is gonna go. If there are different types of motherboard, like I said before, this one actually comes with, where is it? HDMI and I think that's a display port. HDMI and display port. Because the processor, this is the Intel i5 3570K. This comes with a built-in GPU already, like a graphic. It is a graphics card, and it does run 1080p. It could run 2 monitors, I believe, and it does perform good. If you don't want to get a dedicated graphics card, if you're not gonna do any even low-level graphics, like even think about getting into Photoshop range, then you don't need a heavy-duty graphics card. You could run just on the GPU, on the CPU, GPU, and later on, this is where future-proofing comes in. Then you can use those PCI ports to install a dedicated video card and run 3-4 screens at the same time. So also, when you pick a board, you're gonna want to make sure that they have USB 2.0 or 3.0 for the front, depending on the case that you're gonna get. This case comes with USB 3.0, 2 of them, and USB 2.0, also 2 of them. So you're gonna want to make sure that the motherboard has the proper connections for those front panels. These are called front panel headers. You're gonna want to make sure that they have them. And what else? And the SATA ports. They come in 2 versions. This one actually has both. So the red ones that you see here, I'm gonna actually flip it around. Well, I can leave it like that. The red ones that you see here, these are SATA 3, which run at 6 gigabytes a second, and the black one is SATA 2, which runs at 3 gigabytes a second. Depending on the motherboard, they will be different colors. It can be blue, black, white, pink, purple, whatever color the manufacturer decided to put on that motherboard. So just read the specifications on the motherboard and see how many it has. Some of them that come more than 6, usually 2 or 4 of them will run on not on the Z77 chip. It'll run off of a third-party chip, like what's that called? Micro SATA, or it was another manufacturer, I can't really remember, or AS Media. They run a third-party chip which is installed elsewhere in the board. I think all these SATA ports do run off the Z77 chip. They don't run off the CPU, they run off this chip. It's much faster processing, taking the load off the processor. What else? Depending on the board that you're gonna get a lot of different features. This one has like a start and reset button on it, because this is a Republic of Gamer board, and usually gamers will want to overclock their boards, and these boards are awesome to overclock. There are some motherboards that are not very good for overclocking. You're asking yourself what's overclocking. Basically, taking this, which is at 3.4 gigahertz, and throwing more voltage at it to overclock it to about maybe 4.0 or even further. But that's when you're going to want an aftermarket cooler. You don't want to use the cooler that's in here. It's a fan. You're going to want liquid cooling, or a jumbo size fan and heatsink, which are also aftermarket coolers. So a lot of features. So you're going to want to know the features that you have. Also in the back, see here, we have 4 USB 3.0s, 1 eSATA, 1, 2, 3, 4 USB 2.0, so that's 8 USBs in totals in the back. Everything comes in USBs these days, or the new one is Thunderbolt. But Thunderbolt's still relatively new nobody's sure if it's really gonna kick off. But there are motherboards already with Thunderbolt. But my client that I'm building the system for, really, he said no, he doesn't want to pay just to get the Thunderbolt. He can actually add on a card, a PCI X4 card, and get Thunderbolt probably through there. And this comes with the 8-channel HD audio in the front, in the back, and the header, the HD header, to plug in your microphone and headphone in the front. So there are more features on this board. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but yeah, you could search. There's hundreds of boards out there made by Intel. This one's made by Asus. You also got ASRock, MSI. Who else? I'm trying to think. If you go to Motherboards in Newegg or Tiger Direct, you'll find them. They also come in bundles. Sometimes you can get a discount if you buy a motherboard with a CPU. You can get some discount on that. So that's the motherboard basically, and we'll probably talk about that in a little while more. So here we have the processor, and I'm gonna open it up actually. And just pretty much not a lot to talk about on the processor. Just basically it processes, like I said before, all the information that passes through the computer, along with conjunction with the chipset. So, like I said before, there are AMD manufacturer of processors, and you also have Intel. The difference can be a lot. Both of them have their pros and cons. Search that. There's a lot of reviews out there, but you got to be careful with fanboys or people that just hate on another product. They'll just write a bad review just because they want to write a bad review. So just make sure you do your homework. Some people that love Intel will talk bad about AMD, which is not, AMD is not bad. It's good, and it's a good price if you're on a budget. It's an awesome price. But Intel also does have processors for your budget. So the processor, this is the fan. I'm going to show you in a second. The processor, this is a 1155. This is the new 3rd generation 22 nanometer die. So this is a smaller manufacturing, a faster manufacturing process, and a smaller die, less heat, and performance that's just mind-boggling. I have the i7 3770K processor, which is the last processor of the i7 3rd generation line, and it's awesome. So basically the processor, again, you don't try not to touch when you open this, try not to touch the back of it. That's where all the connectors are. You can see right there. So you don't want to touch none of those whatsoever. Don't even breathe on it. If you're not going to use it, put it right back where it came from. And that basically connects on the board. Once you remove this cover, you're going to connect it right there, and then you're going to install your fan or cooling solution that you're going to use. So that's basically the processor, and this one is the 3.4 gigahertz, and I believe it's the turbo clock is 3.9 or 3.8 around there. And like I said before, it comes with the H4000 GPU on it, and 6 megabytes of cache. The i7 comes with 8 megabytes of cache. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it does make a difference. And the RAM. So when you pick RAM, let me take this out. Again, there are several manufacturers of RAM. You have Kingston, you have Crosshair, you have OZZ, and you also have what's that? Giga G Skull. I wish I had a plain RAM, and I know I have it somewhere. This is basically enthusiast RAM because this comes with a heatsink on it. A heatsink basically is like a radiator. It just draws the heat from the component, and then the air flows over that heatsink and takes the heat with it. That's why you need to have good fans in your case. So here we have, this is the Vengeance. It's actually kind of light. I thought it was going to be heavier. This is the Vengeance from Crosshair 16 gigabyte kit. So each of these are 8 gigabytes. This is maximum 32 gigabyte motherboard. You're also going to want to look for the, again, specifications, because these can run anywhere between 1033 megahertz, 1333 megahertz, 1600 megahertz, 1800 megahertz, all the way up to like 2400 or above megahertz. But that's overclock. The native on this is 1600 and below. So we got the 1600, which is the maximum you can put natively without having to worry about overclocking. And this is the voltage is 1.5 volts. There's also 1.65 volts. Again, check your motherboard specifications. Like I said, pretty light. So we have 8, total 16, and then this is dual channel. So when you put both of these on the same, on the color-coded rail, you're gonna have a performance boost, and you also have triple channel, which I have here, also from Crosshair. A little bit different. This Dominator instead of the Vengeance, but this is this was for the X58 chipset, which used triple channel. So basically, it's a little bit, also a heatsink on it, just a little bit different, a little bit heavier too. So again, depending on what you're gonna get, I think the Dominator and then the Dominator GT are the high end of the Crosshair line, and then the Vengeance, and then they have the XMS line, and then they have below that, I believe. So triple channel, again, if you have a triple channel board, you're gonna want to get the triple channel kit and connect these. And again, just read on the specifications on board. All the details are there, I guarantee it. And I think I'm gonna wrap it up for this part of the video. We talked about the case, the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM. Next, I'm gonna talk about the power supply, and I'll be back. Have a good one.